Oh, Jesus.
That never happens. Oh.
All right, everybody, I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. It is July 28th, 2025, and that means it's the beginning of a big week, people, because at the end of this week, I go off the grid for all of August. That's right. So when I tell you that this week is jam-packed with appearances and interviews and testing AI Dave, who we're going to introduce to you on Thursday, who will be at least partially hosting the show while I'm gone, and a whole bunch more. There's just a ton going on. There's also a ton of great stuff happening in the world. I'm in a great mood. I am ready to roll. Hope you had a good weekend. And we are close, people. You have come through for me. You really have. I think we have some numbers here. We're trying to hit that 3 million subscriber thing by the time I go off the grid. We're about 3,000 away. We need 3,200 of you watching the program today. Hundreds of thousands of you watch on a daily basis. We only need about 3,000 of you to subscribe today. We're also looking to crush that 750 on Rumble. All you have to do is click a button, set it and forget it, as Ron Popeil used to say with the rotisserie chicken. And did anyone get that reference? None of you guys got Ron Popeil. There's not a chance in hell that anyone under 40 got that reference. Oh, it's a shame. Anyway, we are going to dive into the culture wars today because Sydney Sweeney, you know this girl, I know her from White Lotus. She's in another show, or was in another show called Euphoria, but she's basically a sexy young chick, and American Eagle brought her on to do some advertisements, and it's the reaction to it in a positive sense, and then the reaction to it in a negative sense, perfectly encapsulates everything we've been going through for the last decade or so with the culture wars. So that's going to set us up. Then we'll get to some Trump wins, particularly as it pertains to these trade deals with Europe and a bunch of other stuff. But let's just dive right in. So this ad came out from American Eagle in the last week or so, and this is actress Sydney Sweeney, who's a great actress, by the way. Again, I only watched White Lotus. I haven't seen the show Euphoria, though the guys said it was pretty good. But she's really a wonderful actress. She's obviously hot, pretty, sexy, whatever you want to call it. And here she is in American Eagle's newest jeans ad.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has very genes.
My body's composition is determined by my genes. Hey, eyes up here.
Sydney Sweeney has very genes.
All right, first off, the guys have requested that we replay that ad 3 times in a row. Is that okay with you? No, we're not going to do that. But you can see why people like it, right? They're pushing their genes. She's hot. She's got boobs. Some dudes are into chicks with boobs. Like, you guys get it. She has lips. The things open at the bottom. They're trying to sell something. It all makes sense, right? It makes sense. You may not like it, but it makes sense why they're trying to do it. And this is the type of thing that a giant corporation over the last couple of years would not have done, right? Because they were always it was about fat empowerment and obese empowerment and triple fat empowerment, and you got to be this color, that color. She's just a hot young chick. It's as simple as that. They're trying to sell jeans and get people talking, which is exactly what they're doing. The other thing that this Sydney Sweeney is doing is selling her bathwater. So we got it right now. Joseph's going to bring it to me. It just arrived this morning, and I'm going to crack this thing open right now. Sydney Sweeney's bathwater here. This is very exciting. Okay, so this is it. Sydney Sweeney's bathwater comes in a nice ball jar. What is it that people do with this, with her bathwater? So guys are ordering this, and we don't know what they're doing with it. You like douse yourself.
What does it taste like?
That's pretty good. Kind of like grapefruit. Anyway, I want to show you one other ad with, that is refreshing. Yeah. I want to show you one other ad of Sydney, and then we'll get into the controversy.
Sydney Sweeney has very genes.
Now I want to show you an ad. You see where we're going here. Where we're going here is this. I want to show you an ad from 2019 American Eagle versus 2025 American Eagle. Now in 2019 you have, I don't care about the race thing, right? And I know you watching this don't care about the race thing, but these people were trying to sell jeans. So what you have there, you get the colors, the big ass, and that was the body that they were going for, trying to sell in 2019, and their numbers and the amount of people that were showing up at their stores and all of the malls and everything started dumping out. Now you get hot girl fit. Obviously, you're trying to sell something. This isn't rocket science. So you can already see where we're going with the show today. The point of all of this, of course, is that in these 6 years, the culture has shifted. Somehow they, whoever you want to say they is, the corporate structure of America pushed all of this gender queer, we love fat ass people on top of you, and they have to be all the colors of Benetton, right? And now the culture has shifted back, right? And then what happens when you actually start doing something that's sexy and interesting and people are into it? Well, listen to this. On X, Sydney Sweeney's American Eagle promo has increased the company's worth by $300 million in 24 hours, proving yet again that putting attractive people in your ads can do wonders for your brand, to the surprise of nobody. Am I right? That's by a Twitter, an X user, Endemon. And yes, of course, this is how advertising has always worked until the wokesters jumped on top, again, of the corporate structure, and they told us that all of the weird things were supposed to be the center that we were supposed to care about, and anything that was sexy or good, or if you were fit or whatever else it might be, that would be bad. Don't take my word for it, though, as I finish this delicious bathwater. Here's Clay Travis.
My social media algorithms saw Sydney Sweeney in a tank top and tight jeans at a car, and they were like, hey, let's feed this to Clay. I don't know how that happened. That video just ended up on my timeline because a store called American Eagle decided that they were going to sign Sydney Sweeney as their chief spokesperson. And this thing went mega viral. The stock was up like a couple of $100 million since they've announced it. They replaced fat, unattractive models with attractive models. And you're going to think this is ridiculous, but I actually think it's evidence of the culture healing. I watched the Victoria's Secret, like the Christmas special, and then I went and bought like $200 of lingerie. So yes, I am susceptible to advertising. My wife was like, you bought everything in the whole store, basically. I was like, I think you're going to look amazing in it.
Wait, it was for his wife. He was buying that's for himself. I got to tell you guys. Delish, Sydney, delish. So you see the culture has shifted. You see we're going back to, something is aspirational. That's what ads used to be, right? They were selling something, right? You would think about when they were selling cigarettes a long time ago. It would be a man in a very nice suit with a very hot woman. And he was smoking and she liked it and they were selling cigarettes. Advertising is something, it makes you want to be part of something. They want to sell you a car. They're selling you an idea. They want to sell you an energy drink. It's like, what's that going to do when you're playing ball? It's something. But then they decided, all of our clothes should be for fat people. We should focus on their genitals and all this stuff. It doesn't work. So now I want to show you a little bit of the reaction to it, because I think it quite well captures what is happening with the brain broken woke side of things. We're going to show you two videos on this. Here is what do we call them? I mean, just, a miserable woman who does not like Sydney Sweeney.
Did American Eagle just run an ad for eugenics? Totally just talking about denim, right? Just a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman explaining how her good genes gave her personality and purity. I mean, are we really going to pretend that this isn't a little fashy-coded? Look, I'm not saying that Sydney Sweeney personally wrote this ad to revive the Third Reich, but American Eagle absolutely knew what they were doing here. You don't get to drop lines about inherited traits, blue eyes, and great genes while zooming in on somebody that could have walked straight off of a Nazi propaganda poster and expect people not to catch that reference.
All right, lady, you're bananas, but she represents, I would say, much of what is wrong with the left, right? Like if you show them anything that's not good, isn't the word. You show them something that's sexy, that is aspirational. If you're a young woman, you don't have to be Sydney Sweeney's obviously stunningly gorgeous, right? You don't have to be perfect like her. Your boobs don't have to be perfect like her, and your waist doesn't have to be perfect like her, and all of that stuff. And might I say, your bathwater doesn't have to taste as good as Sydney Sweeney's, but advertisements are aspirational. So you watching that you somehow think American Eagle, they sat around, I mean, think how absolutely absurd this is, that they sat around in a boardroom and they were like, well, we're all fascists here. We're fascist capitalists. And what we want to do is take a hot chick, put her in our advertisement so that we can bring back the Nazis. At least she acknowledged that Sydney didn't write the ad herself. That was pretty good. But here's another one of these type of ladies that seem to be confused about everything.
Should we be surprised that a company whose name is literally American Eagle is making fascist propaganda like this? Probably not, but it's still really shocking. Like, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman is talking about her good genes. Like, that is Nazi propaganda.
No, it isn't. She happens to be blonde and has blue eyes, and she is fit. And people like that. I don't even know if that's her real hair color. But what are you saying? The implication is that you can only, so what do we can only put brunette people with brown eyes in advertisements? Because that would be anti-Nazi. None of this makes sense. But now I want to connect this to the sort of wider culture war. And this is sort of like we just showed you the American Eagle ad, the evolution of American Eagle in 6 years. We'll take a look at this from Western Journal. After years of wokeness, Nike releases a pro-family ad and people are loving it. And yeah, look at the tagline there. You've already won. And the point is that this young man there playing golf, it's not that he's going to win the golf tournament necessarily. How did he already win? He has a son. He has a son, and he's going to teach his son how to play golf. And that's the thing. That's the Jacob's ladder thing that you're supposed to do in life, right? Find someone who you get married to, have a family, build the ladder up to heaven. Am I doing a little Jordan Peterson right now? You get it? You get it? And look, compare this to Nike in 2021. So only 4 years ago, Nike again. Nike, which is about sports, right? The idea, Nike, just do it. Right? Just do it. It meant run, but that's not what they then were promoting. Look at that lady. That's a chick who has not run in she's jumping. It appears to, no, her feet are on the ground. I don't know what she's doing, but like, wouldn't want her to fall on you. So they went, she's dancing, I suppose that's what it says there. But you get the point. They all went in on something that wasn't true. And then all of their market cap failed because of it. And by the way, it's not just the ones that were selling that crap. ESPN went in on it. And then look what happened to their ratings. We could talk about MSNBC and all the rest. They all pushed an ideology instead of doing something that was true or aspirational at the very least. And thus they're paying for it. The culture then shifts. Trump comes back. And now Nike's like, boy, we're going to get in on this. And American Eagle's like, boy, I love how the girl's like, she doesn't like the name American. That's pretty good. Eagles, those are cool. This from MSNBC. This was a couple of years ago, but again, it illustrates what they have done. The far right's obsession with fitness is going digital. This was in 21, I think. Opinion why the far right is into home fitness. And then you have, a muscle guy there. And then what's behind it? Yes, it's people, Heil Hitler. When I was working out this morning, I was thinking, boy, that Hitler, he made a good point. You see how stupid it all is? All right, we're going to connect all of this to some other culture stuff. Man, can you get me a case of these? Can we get a pallet? I don't know how many baths this chick's going to have to take, but I need this stuff. Tax Network USA. This month, Tax Network USA is celebrating American Pride Month with 10% off all services honoring freedom, resilience, and financial independence. If you missed the April 15th deadline or you have back taxes, don't wait. The IRS is ramping up enforcement fast. Penalties can hit 5% per month. The good news, Tax Network USA can help. Whether you're self-employed, run a business, or your finances are a mess, their experts know how to get results. Consultations are free, and acting now could save you from wage garnishments or bank levies down the road. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Dave to get started. Take advantage of this month's sale for 10% off. All right, so now I want to connect this to a story over the weekend that is going mega viral online, but you are just simply, it does not fit the narrative, so you are just not going to see it on mainstream media. Listen to this from Colin Rugg. New, the Cincinnati Police Department has launched an investigation after a group of thugs were filmed beating a man and a woman unconscious. The woman was seen with blood coming out of her mouth after she tried stepping in to check on a man who was being assaulted. Cincinnati Police Chief Terry Thedage says the department is currently looking for the suspects. The Cincinnati Fraternal Order of Police also called out the thugs, quote thugs. The violence this video shows downtown is disgusting. What's equally disgusting is those who chose to watch and record instead of calling 911. Attempting to defuse the situation or render aid, Cincinnati Fraternal Order of Police President Ken Kober said, "I have full faith in the Central Business Section investigators. They will make arrests in the near future. It will then be the responsibility of the court system to hold these violent thugs accountable." Now, the images that you're seeing there is video of all of this, and you can go find it if you want to find it on X or elsewhere. We could not show you the video because obviously they would either demonetize us or take it down or crush it in the algorithm or anything else, but unbelievably horrific. I mean, it's an absolutely unprovoked attack. These people were going to a jazz festival and a group of thugs attacked them. Now, the problem, of course, and why you won't see this on the mainstream media, it was a group of black people attacking white people. That is the problem. Now, try to reverse the story. Imagine if it was it could still be a jazz concert, but imagine if a group of out-of-control young white people basically tried to lynch and murder a couple black people. Do you think that would, Barack Obama would be tweeting about it right now. It would be the lead story everywhere. Check this out from Wokeness. This was as of yesterday afternoon. 0 AP News stories, 0 Fox News stories, 0 PBS News, 0 New York Times, 0 NPR, 0 ABC, NBC, CNN, WAPO, and MSNBC about this attack. Now, maybe that has changed in the last little bit, but you get the point. And this sort of, you can see how this is connected to the previous thing. When news and marketing and corporate culture and everything becomes activist pushed instead of truth pushed, or again, aspirational at the very least, then they hide certain stories when those stories don't fit the narrative, like a couple white people being basically almost beaten to death for absolutely no reason other than attending a jazz festival in Minneapolis, in Cincinnati, or they will push product on you in a way that is completely incongruent with the whole goal and ethos of the company, sort of like Nike, which was just do it, be fit, work out, suddenly putting fat people all over their stuff. We have a bigger problem now because this cultural problem has then been pushed into politics, and usually into Democrat-run cities where they have groups of people that want to defund the police, that don't mind if you take over streets and you're allowed to break in to Pep Boys and to Target and take things in the name of social justice and everything else. Here is Omar Fateh, who, as you know, he just won the Democrat primary. He won the primary, sorry. He won the Democrat primary in Minneapolis. Here he is talking about how Minneapolis did not go far enough when they were deciding to dismantle the police.
Have you seen any change in policing 5 years later since what happened to George Floyd that caused one of the great movements that we've seen in American history?
Unfortunately, no. The mayor has promised continuously to our communities that there would be real meaningful reform, and 5 years later, there is still no plan. Just last week.
Well, all right, first off, that absolute buffoon answer asking that question. The George Floyd was a great movement. Great movement of what? What did BLM do? What did they do for the black community? Did they send any black people to college? Did they build any black businesses? Did they help any black person do anything? Or was it a giant money laundering scheme that helped the Democrats and burned down several of our cities? Also, it's ironic that, of course, he's now likely going to be the mayor of Minneapolis. You know, Minneapolis, which has had this ridiculous buffoon, leftist, pathetic loser, Jacob Fry, who's pandered to the Somalis and all of the progressive stupidity. He spent his entire career basically doing that, and he wasn't even radical enough. So now they're just replacing him, bringing in one of their own. And by the way, this is what they do with everyone. they're all useful idiots until they're not useful anymore. Queers for Palestine, that's a little hint for you guys. You're only useful until you're not, and then... So that's what they're doing. And the funny part about this, of course, on top of everything else, is that even lunatic jihadist, progressive nutbag Ilhan Omar, who is here to destroy this country, 5 years ago was all about defunding the police. And even she has walked some of that back over time. But the problem is, and I predicted this months ago, that the Zoran Mamdani effect is going to scale up. Whether he wins or not, I do think he's going to win in New York City, but whether he wins or not, you are now going to see other versions of it popping up elsewhere. And then it was only weeks later that we get this Omar Fateh guy in Minneapolis. But what they all are, all of these socialist, communist, Marxist revolutionaries, what they really are frauds. And we better remember that more than anything else. And listen to this from Eric Daughtry. This is the perfect example of what a modern socialist is. Wow. Zoran Mamdani wants to bring socialism to New York City, ban firearms, and defund the police. But for his wedding, he went to Uganda, a Ugandan compound that was heavily guarded with armed men and a phone jamming system for luxurious ceremony socialism only for the peons. The gates of the bustling private compound, which sits in the wealthy Buziga Hill area outside the capital of Kampala, were heavily guarded by military-style masked men this week, with guests streaming in and partying until midnight, according to sources in the town New York Post reports. Look at that. So they not only did they have armed guards, that would be one thing, just armed guards, that would be fine, but masked armed guards. These are the same Democrats who want to unmask ICE. They want their foot soldiers and Antifa out there masked, but he had armed guards, heavily armed guards. He's in the wealthy area, and they had a phone jamming system. I did not have any of those at my wedding. What are you going to do? It continues. There is something strange going on with the Somali political machination. There's just something weird here, and it's not just happening in Minnesota. Here is Maine Representative Mana Abdi talking about how when she came from Somalia, she had to go to Kansas. And listen to the way she talks about Kansas and the people of Kansas and the country that welcomed her. We should not have done that, but here we are.
So coming into the States, everything from the snow to, you know, the housing, the homes that we were all of a sudden occupying, everything was a shock, honestly. Every day was something new, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just getting worse. Yeah,
So what state did you guys land, first of all?
Kansas
City.
Of all places. Yeah, it was like a boot camp for Maine, basically.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's just like, right, like.
It's just like what, lady? It's just like what? Why did we welcome you here? You don't like it? Go home. You know, when we finish up the deportations of the illegals, we're going to have some discussion around people that have come here in the last decade or two who are here to shit all over our country, which is someone, you know what you did? You went to Kansas. And later in the video, she talks clearly, she says it, but doesn't say it, about the ethnic makeup of Kansas and everything else. Sorry you had to deal with a little bit of snow. Sorry, we didn't put you up in the Four Seasons. We're so sorry about that. But enough of this. If we do not defend our country, if we do not defend our culture, and that doesn't mean it has to be one religion or one skin color. You get it. What's our American culture? Our American culture is based on individual freedoms. It's based on human liberty. It's based on the pursuit of happiness. But if you can't get on board all of that and fundamentally understand that this 249-year experiment is fucking amazing and precious, if you can't get on board that, you gotta go. It's as simple as that. Because otherwise we will turn into Europe. And it is not looking good in Europe right now. Here's a native Brit who decided to take a walk in her local park. And you tell me if this is the America you want.
Just look at this by the bins. It's absolutely dire. Nappies, just look at this. What are the mothers who are doing this? Do you have no shame? Look at that.
So that's a park, I think, in London that's just been taken over by burqa-wearing people who seem not to care very much, who seem to think that you're allowed to just come here and treat it like Somalia or wherever you came from. But London, they don't know what to do in England right now. They have no idea what to do. And it is not just them. It is all over Western Europe. Here is a little bit from Paris, France. Okay, so now you may be watching that going, Dave, a lot of those people just seem to be going about their day and blah, blah, blah. But what is it going to do to Paris over time? Well, you know what? You start bringing people in, they start believing other things. You tell them that your countries are fundamentally bad, you're occupying forces, blah, blah, blah. Western culture is evil and everything else. You'll also get a little of this in Paris. And this, I wasn't sure if this was Grand Theft Auto or Paris, but apparently it's just Paris. That seems nice. Paris needs a two-state solution. They must split the land. And look, guys, you know I love those throwback videos to give you a little juxtaposition to how things were versus how they are versus how they should be. Take a look at this colorized video. This is Paris around 1900. I guess the flaming garbage can was just out of frame right there. You get the point. So now I want to connect this to Donald Trump and what's happening in Europe. Here is Donald Trump talking about the immigration situation in Europe and how they have not fought for themselves, like we're trying to do right here, and what might happen.
Stop the windmills. And I mean, there's a couple of things I could say, but on immigration, you better get your act together. You're not going to have Europe anymore. You got to get your act together, and you got to stop this horrible invasion that's happening to Europe. Many countries in Europe. Some people, some leaders have not let it happen, and they're not getting the proper credit they should. I could name them to you right now, but I'm not going to embarrass the other ones. But stop this immigration is killing Europe.
You could name them. You could embarrass a couple people. Viktor Orban doing pretty good in Hungary. Our documentary about Hungary will come out when I'm off the grid in August. You know, they're paying 1 million euros every single day in fines to the EU to keep their borders closed. That's what Hungary is doing right now. Obviously, Poland, some of the other Eastern European nations. Geert Wilders is doing the best he can in Holland. Like, there are some places doing it, but otherwise, like, the UK is done. I see no way that they can reverse this thing at this point. Trump's trying to say to them, he's basically saying, guys, we might be able to help you somehow if you're willing to do this, but these people seem bent on destroying their cultures and destroying their countries, despite Trump's best efforts. And we will talk about Trump's best efforts in just a second, because remember what I said all along for these last 4 months as it pertained to all of these trade deals and the tariffs. So we just have to see where it lands, right? That was the line from David Sachs that I really liked. Trump got immediate wins with certain countries, and then it was going to take a little time to see where things shake out. Well, we're getting some things in from the EU right now, and they are looking very good if you love America, which I do. First, Ursula Health. Life today is stressful, distracting, and exhausting. If you've been feeling anxious, foggy, or burned out, you're not alone. You're not broken. Your nervous system is just overloaded. That's why I use and love the Vibe from Ursula Health. This isn't a wellness fad. It's a pocket-sized PEMF device designed by a rocket scientist that helps your body reset naturally. No wires, no meds, no subscriptions, just gentle pulses that help calm your nervous system, like tuning a guitar back into harmony. PEMF has been trusted for years by athletes and doctors, and now the Vibe makes this technology available to anyone dealing with stress, sleep issues, focus struggles, or chronic pain. With nearly 60 built-in settings, it supports your body's natural balance without adding another pill to your routine. And right now, my listeners can save $100. Just go to unplugthepanic.com. That's unplugthepanic.com. Feel the shift, carry the calm. $100 off for a limited time. All right, so let's talk about trade. We've talked about culture quite a bit so far. Let's talk about some of the other good things that Donald Trump is doing. And he kept saying, hey, guys, just give me a chance. We're going to just negotiate. That's what I do. I make a deal. And let's see how the deals shake out. Here's Donald Trump talking about some of the new deals as it pertains to the EU.
European Union is going to agree to purchase from the United States $750 billion worth of energy. $750 billion worth of energy. They are going to agree to invest into the United States, $600 billion more than they're investing already. So they're investing a large amount of money. They're agreeing to open up their countries to trade at zero tariff. So that's a very big factor.
Do you realize how great this is, guys? And everybody, the panicans, I love that phrase, the panicans who told you Trump's going to crash the world economy and all of these deals are going to come back horrible and all of the countries are going to line up together and stop the U.S. and everything else, much like Iran is going to lead us to a nuclear or thermonuclear World War III. They were wrong about everything. Look at those 3 bullet points right there. They're going to buy, the EU is going to buy $750 billion in energy from us. Because believe it or not, guys, the US, we actually can produce energy if you unleash us. 750 bill. That seems pretty good. Then the EU is going to invest another 600 billion in our economy. Also, that's incoming. That seems pretty good. And we've got them to zero tariffs on certain things. Let's get a better explanation of the tariff situation. This is EU Commissioner, I should say, Ursula von der Leyen, talking about the tariff situation.
We should not forget where we would have been on the 1st of August. We would have been at 30%. And it would have been much more difficult to get down now to the 15%. 15% is certainly a challenge for some. But we should not forget it keeps us the access to the American market. And what we are also doing intensively is diversifying to other regions of the world. And this opens up new markets, potential new markets. I want to thank President Trump personally for his personal commitment and leadership to achieve this breakthrough. He's a tough negotiator, but he is also a deal maker.
Isn't that it right there? That's the line right there. He's a tough negotiator, but he's a deal maker. So Trump threatened massive tariffs. And then everyone was like, oh my God, it's going to ruin the world economy. But calmer heads prevailed because Trump is a negotiator. So we will have 15% tariffs on the EU. The EU will have 0% tariffs on the US. That is how it is going to work. He started by threatening them with 30%. And thus, you're not going to believe it. It became a negotiation and we won. Here's Howard Lutnick explaining a bit more about the time frame on the tariffs.
Okay, August 1st, that deadline is coming within a matter of days. Will there be any more grace period, any more extensions, and what deals are closest to getting done at this point?
Okay, so no extensions, no more grace periods. August 1st, the tariffs are set. They'll go into place. Customs will start collecting the money, and off we go. Obviously, after August 1st, people can still talk to President Trump. I mean, he's always willing to listen. And between now and then, I think the president's going to talk to a lot of people. Whether they can make him happy is another question, but the president's definitely willing to negotiate and talk to the big economies for sure.
Guys, it really is something. We have adults in charge again. Remember what this is about, of course, is that Trump gave an extension. He said, okay, I forget what it was originally, but it was something like, we'll give you 90 days or something to figure this stuff out. So there have been all of these negotiations with all of these different countries. Many countries have already come back and said we're good to go and we're going to have more equitable deals, equity in the best sense of the word, actually. And now everybody else has till August 1st. Well, the EU already just clocked in, good stuff, and we'll find out over the course of the next 5 or 6 days who else does. And then as Lutnick lays out, even if you go past August 1st, you think you can work this out, you're probably going to come crawling back to us after. But the deal, you know Trump, the deal will not be as good at that point. So we will see who does not come back to Trump with the deal by August 1st. Listen to a bit more on this from Trump's Truth Social, this about how it pertains to Elon and some of the subsidies, because I want this stuff to be cleaned up too. Everyone is stating that I will destroy Elon's companies by taking away some, if not all, of the large-scale subsidies he receives from the U.S. government. This is not so. I want Elon and all businesses within our country to thrive, in fact, thrive like never before. The better they do, the better the U.S. does, and that's good for all of us. We are setting records every day, and I want to keep it that way. Okay, so the point there is that if Elon's companies, in this case, he's specifically talking about Tesla, right? If some of these EV mandates expire, and they are expiring, Trump is not doing it to destroy Tesla. He is doing it so that we can get more sensible spending within government. And if the economy starts chugging along a little bit better and people have a little bit more money in their pocket, they might be willing to spend a little bit more on an electric car. A Tesla is still usually more expensive, but not in every case anymore, than just, the average gas guzzler, the sedan, right? So you might, if you have a little bit more money, you might be willing to make that jump without the government having to give you a subsidy for it. It's not rocket science, quite literally in this case. Listen to this from Eric Daughtry related to Doge. Breaking: Doge geniuses in the Trump administration have built an AI tool to work towards slashing a whopping 50% of all federal regulations, as per Washington Post. Cut it all. Doge AI deregulation decision tool is supposed to analyze around 200,000 regulations to determine which can be eliminated and which can be eliminated, not required by law passed by Congress. In merely 2 weeks, this tool has reportedly been used to make decisions on over 1,000 regulatory sections at Trump's HUD and has wrote 100% of deregulations at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So this is an interesting example of AI. So you understand what's going on here. So AI will be set up, and there's an algorithm, right? Like there is a system, a modeling system in place, and the programmers at Doge are like, okay, we want to cut money, we want to cut funding, we don't want to take away absolutely necessary things, but then it's going to look at the programs, and the AI, the computer mind, can do this. It can look at the programs, it can look at how much money this thing is getting, and what is the output on that? Is it actually doing anything? Are these programs worthwhile? And in many cases, they are going to find out that they are not worthwhile, and then the programs will be cut. And the AI model, which once is built, it doesn't cost the government that much money. You can see how this could really scale an efficient government. Here's head of the EPA, who's hacking away at the EPA, Lee Zeldin, talking about how he's saving us some cash, and it involves the B word too.
When I came in, our staff size was over 16,000. That number is in the process of going down to 12,500. That right there is a savings of about $750 million. I was just talking about the $22 billion that I canceled in grants. We're saving $18 million a year in a real estate consolidation, removing personnel from the Reagan building, just by canceling certain media contracts that we have, or closing down an EPA museum that no one visited. We are continuing to find efficiencies, and everything that I just described, all of that stuff goes away. We are still able to fulfill our statutory obligations in the power of the great American comeback.
And guys, more competent people actually working for the people of the United States of America. He eliminated 4,000 jobs at the EPA. Do you think that the EPA is suddenly not going to function? Remember when Elon took over, can someone give me the numbers? When Elon took over Twitter, how many people did he fire? I think it was about 60% of the workforce. It was several thousand people. People were like, oh my God, the retweet button's not gonna work. Everything continued to work. Just because you have high staffing doesn't mean it's efficient or these people deserve a job or are good at a job or anything else. So 4,000 people, that saves $750 million, $22 billion in grants. They did some things with real estate deals. Like again, and this is the EPA, which you could argue that the EPA shouldn't even exist. Like, do we need a federal agency to do these things? Could we leave it to the states? But the point again, it's sort of like the Linda McMahon thing. Why did she take the job, Linda McMahon, a billionaire? Why did she take the job at the Department of Education? It was to put herself out of a job. Well, I have a feeling Zeldin might be doing the same thing. So we shall see. What are the numbers on? 3,500 laid off. He laid off 3,500 out of, it was about 7,000, I think. It was about half the workforce. And guess what? X still works. The frog Nazis are still on there. Let's talk about 1775 coffee for a minute, and then we will have some updates on Russia, because it's Russian to do the story that we'll do after the talk about the coffee. Guys, let's be honest. Most coffee gives you that quick little jolt, and then what? A crash, jitters, that mid-morning brain fog, and before you know it, you're already pouring a second or third cup just to make it to lunchtime. But what if your coffee did more than just wake you up? What if it actually did something good for your body, something real, something lasting? Meet Rejuvenate Coffee. This isn't your average cup of joe. It starts with premium Rio Arauca beans, so yes, it tastes incredible. But what makes it special is what's inside. A powerful powerful compound called CAAKG. Now, I know that sounds technical, but stick with me. CAAKG is backed by real science. It's been shown to support cellular energy, a healthy metabolism, and even healthy aging. Yeah, you heard that right. Your coffee could actually help you feel better, not just today, but 10 years from now. This isn't a gimmick. It's not a trend. It's a smart decision for people who take their health seriously and who want to feel focused, strong, and dialed in every single day. So if you care about how you feel, not just this morning, but long term, Rejuvenate Coffee is for you. Head on over to 1775coffee.com/Rubin and order a bag of Rejuvenate Coffee today. Fuel your body, protect your future. Rejuvenate. All right, so you guys remember Barack Obama? He was this guy a couple years back, hope and change, had a nice smile, lied about a lot of stuff. Well, it turns out he might be in a bit of trouble. Look at this meme that Donald Trump put up, and you might say maybe he shouldn't put these memes up, but here it is. And of course, that is the famous OJ Bronco chase from LA. What was that, 1992? And Obama's in the Bronco, he's running. There's Trump in the cop car, and you might see JD right behind him, and that's Fathead JD, which has become a meme unto itself on the internet. And even JD enjoyed that they threw in Fathead JD. People thought, I saw some people like, oh my God, Trump's going at JD using Fathead JD. Even JD, there he is with the crying emoji. He thinks it's funny. But what is going on here? Well, you know that Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is now saying that Barack Obama, her exact quote, there is irrefutable evidence that Barack Obama was involved in the scandal to pin a Russia collusion hoax on Donald Trump, while it was basically him doing the Russia collusion hoax. Here's Tulsi talking about Obama's reaction now. So basically, Tulsi lays out the claim. Obama went on Twitter, basically dismissed it. Here is Tulsi's then response to that.
Former President Obama's office responded to the documents that you've released, calling them bizarre allegations or ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. What is your response to the former president?
They're doing the exact same thing that people like Senator Warner are doing. He was the head of the Intelligence Committee at the time. They would have to admit and actually address the details of their complicity in this, or their absolute failure in conducting the most basic responsibilities of, again, asking, where is this intelligence coming from? What are the sources? What proof do you have of these of this high confidence assessment? Remember, John Brennan and James Clapper at the time assessed, and James Comey, with high confidence that Russia aspired to help Donald Trump win the election in 2016, when there was no credible intelligence that actually reported that. The treasonous conspiracy that we have now released to the American people. So the complicity, the deflection, and the silence of politics.
I mean, there's a lot there, and I'm scribbling like treasonous complicity. That's powerful. The statement she originally said, irrefutable evidence. And what she's saying there is that these guys who all claimed, and we all remember it, right? I know we forget everything very quickly in the age of the internet, but we all remember it was Russia, Russia, Russia. I mean, it was basically why they tried to impeach Trump the first time, and that Donald Trump Jr. had lunch with a Russian agent on the Upper East Side, like all just absolute insanity. But the real sort of, if you're trying to whittle it down, so what is the thing, right? Well, what is the thing that we can all sort of look at? Basically, you have guys like Clapper and John Brennan, who we'll get to in a second, and some of the other intelligence officials, basically all saying that with high confidence, this was their assessment based on nonsensical documents that either do not exist or that they fabricated, or the Hillary Clinton campaign fabricated with the Steele dossier, that with high confidence, they believed that Putin was trying to hack the election for Trump, except it was not true at all. And that's what Tulsi is exposing right now. There is a reason that Donald Trump is not in jail. Thank God. Here is one of those people, John Brennan, who I would say at this point is basically a traitor to the United States. And here he goes on the televised mental institution known as MSNBC, where they hire former Obama press secretaries to do shows. Of course, Jen Psaki talking about Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard, she may be impaired on the ethics front, certainly, but she's not impaired on the intellect front. And so I can only presume that she is doing this intentionally mischaracterizing, misrepresenting, and lying about what she has found.
I think she's projecting. Obviously, she's engaged in the politicization of intelligence
to support Donald Trump. And so she is pointing to previous intelligence, products that we put out and saying that this was a politically designed product. I think what she's trying to do is to gain the good graces of Donald Trump.
Might I try to offer a host at MSNBC a little advice when you're doing journalism? What you might have wanted to ask Brennan there is, so Mr. Brennan, when you and James Comey and everybody, when you told the American public that there with high confidence that Donald Trump was either working with Putin or a tool of Putin or in collusion with Putin or something to hack the election in his favor, what was your evidence? You could try asking him that, and then you might see the guy flounder. And also in the previous clip where he says she, meaning Tulsi, may be impaired on the ethics front. What an absolutely disgusting thing to say. If anyone is if anyone is impaired on the ethics front, can we show an image? Yeah, there's 51 people, intelligence experts, and oh my God, look who's right in the middle there. It's John Brennan, the 51 intelligence experts who told us that the Hunter Biden laptop was fake, even though it was real. So are you impaired on the ethics front, Mr. John Brennan? There is no reason to believe that Tulsi is. I know no more about this than you watching this does. I can only now follow the crumbs as Tulsi lays them out, again, what she called irrefutable evidence. But she has a hell of a lot more credibility than you, who lied about the Hunter Biden laptop. And the fact is, it was so obviously a lie that for some reason, and I do have a pretty good track record and I'm proud of it, I didn't get that story wrong. And the second that Twitter wouldn't let you send it in DMs, I was like, damn, there is smoke and there is fire. Here's a bit more from the Federalist Molly Hemingway on the media's complicity as it pertains to all of the Russia ridiculousness.
Well, what happened when you go back to 2016 is the Obama administration hid intelligence showing that Russia's meddling in the 2016 election was no big deal. They suppressed that because they didn't want Donald Trump to know about it. Then they immediately began leaking to the Washington Post and to the New York Times false things that weren't true, the opposite, that Russia had conspired with Trump to steal the election. And the Washington Post and New York Times, when they were asked to publish these things that were not true, they just went ahead and did it. They took the word of John Brennan and other sources like that who had made these false claims. Then the Obama administration manufactures a completely fake intelligence assessment, again with this claim that Russia had conspired with Trump to steal the election, and they leaked that to the media as well. Well, when they were receiving these leaks, the media did whatever these people wanted. They pushed this absolutely delusional conspiracy theory for years. And now that we know that, and it was a fake story, now that we know the real story, and the real story is shocking. The Obama administration suppressed real intelligence, and then they manufactured fake intelligence for the purpose of undermining a legitimately elected administration. The media are hiding it. And why? Because they were complicit in the crimes that were committed.
Right, so this is pretty powerful stuff. That is that's completely congruent right there. Everything that Molly just said, completely in line with what Tulsi was talking about. But what she's now peppering in is how the lies get laundered. And what do I say about this all the time? The lies get laundered because the New York Times and the Washington Post and MSNBC, et cetera, they act as the launderers, right? So let's say John Brennan, James Comey, et cetera, they concoct this thing. Well, how do you get your concoction out there? You literally just go with anonymous sources. Everything in New York Times, anonymous source said, someone on Capitol Hill said. You feed that down to the New York Times. The New York Times then writes a story, and then everyone, even in our space, in the online media, we all have to react to that story. Thus, that is how you create a lie, and that's how a lie spreads around the world. Well, now that the internet, and thank God that Elon got X, thank God there's Rumble and Locals and these places where the truth, or at least a counter narrative can be spread, exist. What this has led to is a complete decapitation of the Democrat Party because people see them for what they are right now, and they are largely screwed. Here is my buddy Stephen A. Smith on the future of the Dems.
Okay, so let me move forward on the Democrats. We were just talking on the roundtable about this new Wall Street Journal poll that shows even on issues where the public does not approve of the president or of Republicans, they actually have a lower approval rating of the Democrats.
Yeah. Oh, that's easy to understand. One party has a leader in Donald Trump. You can refute, nobody can refute that. He is the leader of the GOP and the Republican Party. Make no mistake about it. The Democrats don't have a leader. As a body, the Democratic Party just looks very, very bad right now because they look leaderless. They don't have a definitive voice that anybody can depend on.
Let me expand on that for you, Stephen. You're right. They don't have a leader. So whether you like Trump or not, it's very easy to be like, well, what are the Republicans right now? Well, what are the Republicans? It's Trumpism. It's MAGA. It's all of the things that we talk about on this show every day. Now, you may not like all of I don't know, perhaps you don't like the immigration thing, or you don't like the trade deals, or you don't like what happened with Iran or whatever. But you can look at it and be like, I know where the policies come from. I know what the policies are, et cetera. The problem the Democrats are having is not only is there no leader, who is the leader? Is it Bill Clinton? Is it Barack Obama? Is it Gavin Newsom? Is it Kamala Harris? Is it Psycho Johnson or Penis Vagina Williams? Nobody knows, right? But that's not just the problem, because the problem is when you don't have, first off, you don't have a leader. So you don't have someone you could just kind of point to be the avatar for the thing. That just makes it simple in people's minds, right? That's one part. But the other part is at this point, nobody knows what the policies are. Are you guys all full-blown socialists? Now, I would say yes, because as we've seen with the Zorhan Mandami thing, it's like nobody in the Democrat Party is really pushing against him. You got these kind of mealy-mouthed kind of nobodies like Eric Adams, let's say, who's no longer even a Democrat. He's an independent, pushing back a little bit. But we've seen Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and a bunch of the others praising this guy who is a full-blown socialist, and you're only a socialist until you rip the mask off, and then you're a communist. That's how it works. So they do not know what to do, and even though I'm obviously not one of them, I don't think it's healthy for any free country to really only have one party that's sane and then a complete group of nutbags. So I would like to see something sane there, even if I disagreed on the policies. At least some people who love America, who don't fundamentally want to turn us into the country that all of our ancestors fled, et cetera, but they are just banged up. And speaking of banged up, I don't know who was doing Nancy Pelosi's makeup, like a little D. Shine lady here, or if the vodka was just coming out of her skin pores. But she did this interview, and here she is talking about Donald Trump's mental faculties, because irony is dead.
Do you have any second thoughts? Any second thoughts about what happened last summer or with?
I don't have any second thoughts, but I do have a second thought about the Republicans. Mm-hmm. If they want to measure mental acuity or sanity, they ought to look to their own president, because the president of the United States, who was asked one question and answers by saying President Obama is guilty of treason, he is not of sane mind. Mm-hmm. But no, I have no second thoughts. I think that he was a great president.
Well, it's before noon. It looks like somebody hit her with a frying pan and threw her out there. But okay, she has no second thought. And that's exactly what's wrong with you people. Again, I'm not one of you. So in some sense, I enjoy you crumbling. But I do want something healthy in the system. You have no second thoughts as, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, you should have been encouraging Biden to step away because you might have seen what we all saw. You have no regrets about that. You have no regrets about the 3 days where you guys pulled off the soft coup, where you had Kamala, basically threaten him with the 25th Amendment. You have no regrets about any of that. You have no regrets about, I don't know, governing with the auto pen. You have no regrets about you have no regrets about, I don't know, opening the border to 21 million people. No regrets about, well, you did become very rich during all of it. What's she worth again? Like about $100 million bucks. So I guess she has no regrets. I guess when she's swimming in her money like Scrooge McDuck, that she probably doesn't have any regrets. A guy who seems to have some regrets and also a lot of vengeance on his mind is Hunter Biden. We played you a couple of clips of this interview that he did about a week ago where he just went scorched earth on these Democrat dingbats. And I want to show you one more clip today. Here he is going after the Pod Save America guys and Barack Obama. And Obama seems to be in a lot of hot water right now. But the Pod Save America guys, they were just speechwriters. They were, as Hunter called them, I think he said they were mid-level speechwriters for Obama, but they've somehow become like big podcasters on the left. Watch him just go scorched earth. And this, again, it illustrates just the fight within the Democrat Party. What are we doing? Are we going to be anything like the Democrats of old, whether you agree with it or not? Or are we going full-blown Obama, Mandami, crazy commie crapola?
And so then the drumbeat began. And the New York Times, on a near daily basis, egged on by the Pod Save America saviors of the Democratic Party, with four white millionaires that are dining out on their association with Barack Obama from 16 years ago, living in Beverly Hills, telling the rest of the world what black voters in South Carolina really want, or what the women in the waitress living outside of Green Bay, Wisconsin really believes. I mean, what the I mean, I can't believe that we do this over and over again.
Yeah. This is such a great example of the Godzilla let them fight thing. First off, Hunter, you are a millionaire who became a millionaire only because of your dad's connections, who lives in Malibu. So whether these guys are millionaires in Beverly Hills or not, like, okay, I get your point, but okay, that's one part. But interestingly, he brings up something that connects this to what Molly was talking about how the lies get laundered through the system. So how is it that for years we all saw what was going on with Hunter Biden, but it could not get through the system? The airlock did not let it get through the mainstream media until the June 27th, over a year ago now, the June 27th debate, where it was so obvious that the airlock basically exploded. It no longer worked. And then on mainstream media, it was pushed. But what he says is that it was the Pod Save America guys leaking to the New York Times all the time. That's Obama. So when they used Biden as long as they could, and then when it finally broke down, it's the same leaking. So the leaking of the Russiagate story to the New York Times and everything else is the same way they do everything as it pertains to Biden or whatever other lies they want to launder through the system. Here's Kevin O'Leary, who I love playing clips of because he just lays it out cleanly and straight up. Here he is talking about that Hunter Biden interview and what Hunter's kind of angle is right now.
When I watch this, is he setting himself up to go into new media, podcast, maybe streaming, something where he's a voice that represents the angry Democratic platform that he is? I mean, clearly that's the position he's putting forward. That's one side. On the other side, which I think he has to try and balance, he's trashing his family brand a little bit here. I mean, whether you like Biden or you don't, and I understand the last few years of his mandate it had big issues that were not addressed in that interview, but you got to remember, he was a lawmaker for decades and a respected one, even if you didn't believe in his policies. But this is, in my view, if this was my son, I'd take him behind the barn with a stick and I'd beat him.
Wow. So you've seen the cussing ones.
You just don't do. The family brand is being trashed. That's my view. And I think that's a horrible way to end it for the original Biden.
It's so interesting what Kevin's saying there, because he's saying two things that seem like they're in opposition, but they're both right. Is the family brand being trashed? Well, all the Biden name has now is to throw the crack addict out there, right? There's nobody left. Joe is, what did I say? Joe's going to be seen 2 more times. I thought 2 more times post-presidency, like in some sort of official capacity. He gave one really bad interview and we saw him, he gave one really terrible speech, right? I don't know that we'll ever see him again in official capacity. Yes, you're going to see him maybe walking to get ice cream, but that's it. So they know they're done with him. Jill, because she was so obviously complicit in all this, it's hard for her to go out there and talk because she looks like the evil witch that she is with the abuse of her husband. So the crack addict is suddenly like, I'm the man now. And so there's an irony. Is he trashing the brand because he says F every other word in that interview, and he's speaking in an extremely crass way? He also told people how to make crack, which he didn't think the president's son was going to do that. Is he trashing the Biden brand in some sense? Well, the answer to that obviously is yes. You might argue that Biden himself trashed the Biden brand because of the utter incompetence, and he was basically an autopen. So that's one part of it. But the other part is that in some sense, yeah, does he want to be a podcaster or something else? But that's probably right, actually. Like, he has to figure out what his career is going to be post-dad, right? And the art thing's going to dry up, obviously, because no one's going to buy his artwork knowing that access to his dad doesn't exist anymore, right? That money laundering thing's over too. But what he's doing, ironically, this would be, you can't make this shit up. Imagine if the crack addict son of the man with dementia becomes the sort of voice of the sane Democrat. He hates Obama. He hates the socialists and the lunatics and the Pod Save America bros and all of that. He hates all of them. He's a cracked out nutbag who's completely uncensored, he could become their Joe Biden. He could become their Joe Rogan. That actually would be something. So imagine if the Democrats, to whatever extent that party should or could be saved, is saved by the crack addict of who is the son of the pen. Okay, fine. Let's finish up with a little bit more about Obama, because on my other show, which you have not seen, which if you have not seen, is really, really wonderful. I'm loving it. A Actual Friends podcast that I'm doing with Russell Brand and with Sage Steele, and Jillian Michaels is with us sometimes, and Roseanne, and we're gonna have a rotating cast of characters. If you haven't checked it out, I really, really love doing it. We're trying to just we're actual friends. That's the whole idea. And we're just trying to have fun with all the issues at the end of every week. The show goes up on Fridays. We talked a little bit about the passing of Hulk Hogan, which was so, for anyone, like if you're Gen X, but it's really even beyond that. If you're anyone who is like into wrestling over the last, since 1984, basically, at any point, like this guy was the star of stars and lived such an interesting life, who then ultimately came out in support of Trump, and he had his own religious awakening, all this stuff, that he really lived by a code. And that's so different than Obama, who purported to live by a code, but apparently lived another way. Here's Russell Brand on that.
We might have all thought that Hulk Hogan was kind of cheesy, but in reality, he was someone who suffered a great deal to bring you the kind of truth that can only come through narrative storytelling. Maybe the character of Hulk Hogan is more authentic than the character of Barack Obama, who represented a certain kind of politics, a return to hope and change. But as it turned out, it was more of the same and a kind of hopelessness. Maybe the world of wrestling and the world of entertainment and the world of politics are all to a degree defined by masks. When Hulk Hogan's mask came off, we saw a man that had suffered for what he believed in. When Barack Obama's mask came off, we saw a man who had made us suffer for what he believed in, whether it was in 2008 or whether it was in the Russiagate hoax. So let us mourn the hero that is Hulk Hogan, may he rest in peace, and please let us revivify the kind of politics that may now flourish now that Barack Obama faces justice. That's all from me.
I have to say, you could see I was in studio with Sage for that. She was sitting right here, and her jaw literally dropped at the end of that thing. She was like, wow, that was just so well said. But I always talk about kayfabe. Kayfabe is the fake reality that wrestling provides, right? Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant were not enemies in real life. It's all fake, but they're creating a narrative, a story arc that goes from story to story to story to story, right? And in some ways, that is what politics has become. And when he's talking about how Hulk Hogan paid physically. When I met Hulk back in 2018, and he's talked about this a million other times, but he talked about all of the shoulder surgeries, the like 6 hip replacements, all of his fingers that were like crushed from everything that he had done. He had broken everything. He had an eye socket replaced, like just absolute. So he suffered in that sense, but then he also suffered as he sort of came out politically, because he was a Trump supporter, and people, a certain set of people really hated him for that. And what did he love? What did Hulk Hogan love more than anything else? How about America? Right? How about America? His walk-in song. How about loving America and fighting for America? But he did pay a certain price for it. And that's reverse of what Obama did. Obama came in, hope and change, I love everybody, everything's gonna be wonderful. And Obama faked it. His mask was the mask of a smiley, I'm for everybody, but then really became only for a certain set of people. And we can now see how he's so deeply connected to all of the bad things that have happened over the last couple of years. So let us end with Hulk Hogan ripping his shirt off at the RNC.
What happened last week when they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States? Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
Still get chills up my spine every time the guy does that. So absolutely great. I saw Hulk Hogan wrestle at Nassau Coliseum probably around 1988. Went with my dad and my brother. Guys, that's our show for today. As I said, this is an absolutely insane week. I'm doing a million interviews and I'm doing like a ton of other shows just in preparation for everything. We're perfecting AI, Dave, and a whole bunch more before I disappear for August. Thank you for watching. I see that we got a couple hundred subscribers during the show today, so we are now at 2,997,052. Under 3,000 to go. Get us there. By Thursday is the end of the month. And oh, look at this. I have one more sip of Mrs. Sweeney, Ms. Sweeney. End communication.